What happens if your axolotl glows in the dark? What happens if you forget to feed them for a week? Or even, what happens if they lose a leg? Well, today we're doing it. What happens if Axolotl Edition? We'll go through some of the most common, weirdest, and funniest what-if questions about axolotls, and trust me, the answers are going to surprise you. Welcome back to Spot On Pet Life. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on more axolotl facts, tips, and crazy stories about Pharaoh, Mario, and Cecilia. Part 1. What happens if your axolotl floats? Sometimes people panic when their axolotl floats, but here's the truth. Casual floating is totally fine. Some axolotls just like to hang out near the top. But if your axolotl is stuck at the surface and can't sink, that's a warning sign. It could mean gas buildup, water quality issues, or even constipation. Fixes? Check your water parameters, make sure you're not overfeeding, offer smaller worms or softer foods. A gentle black tea bath can sometimes help them relax. So, floating sometimes? Cute and normal. Floating constantly? Time to play detective. Part 2. What happens if you forget to feed them for a week? Axolotls are tougher than most people realize. Juveniles need daily food. Adults eat about 2 times a week. And believe it or not, healthy adults can go up to 2 weeks without food. So if you miss a feeding or two, no big deal. But don't make it a habit. Pharaoh, Mario, and Cecilia would probably protest if I skipped too many meals. And trust me, an axolotl staring you down at dinner time, you will feel the guilt. Part 3. What happens if they lose a leg? This is where axolotls become superheroes. If an axolotl loses a leg, they don't panic, they just grow it back. Nerves, muscles, skin, bones, everything regenerates perfectly. Over weeks to months, it's like nothing ever happened. Imagine if humans could do that. Lose a finger, grow it back. That's why scientists study axolotls so much. And here's a fun fact. They can regenerate parts of their heart, spinal cord, and even brain tissue. Talk about a cheat code for survival. Part 4. What happens if you use gravel? Axolotls will try to eat it every single time. And here's the problem. Gravel doesn't digest. It builds up inside them and causes impaction, which can be fatal. That's why gravel is the #1 beginner mistake. Safe options? Bare-bottom tanks, fine sand, or axolotl gravel, which I switched to for my larger axolotls. And if you've seen gravel in one of my older videos, don't worry, there's a very good reason I used it in that setup. I explain all about it in that video, so check it out if you're curious. Part 5. What happens if you keep them too warm? Axolotls are cold water creatures. Above 22 degrees Celsius, 72 degrees Fahrenheit, stress kicks in. Above 24 degrees Celsius, 75 degrees Fahrenheit, it can become dangerous. Warm water weakens their immune system and can trigger fungus infections. Pharaoh actually went through this once, and it took weeks of tea baths and careful monitoring to help him recover. That's why I always recommend chillers or other cooling methods. Don't risk it. Axolotls are happiest when things are nice and chilly. Part 6. What happens if you add tank mates? This one's tricky. People often think axolotls are lonely and need friends. But the truth is, axolotls are perfectly happy on their own. Fish can nip at their gills, shrimp often just become snacks, and plecos, huge danger. If an axolotl tries to swallow a pleco, its armored spines can cause catastrophic injury. The only reason mine live peacefully with plecos is because they were raised together from the start, literally the same size as babies. But in general, I never recommend it. Part 7. What happens if they stop moving much? Axolotls are lazy. Seriously, some days they'll just sit in the same spot like little statues. If water parameters are fine and they're eating, it's completely normal. They just don't swim around like fish. But if they stop eating, lose weight, or look stressed, that's when you need to check things out. And Part 8. What happens if they live a long time? Here's something most beginners don't realize. Axolotls live 10 to 15 years. That's a big commitment. My Pharaoh and Mario are already 5 years old, and Cecilia is still young at 2. Sadly, Luigi passed away a couple of years ago. Not my fault, and I'll share that story in another video, but it's proof that axolotls are long-term pets. So, if you're thinking about getting one, remember, it's not just a cute impulse buy, it's a decade of responsibility. And a bonus round. Let's throw in a couple of more quick-fire what-ifs that I see all the time. What if your axolotl glows under UV light? That's a special morph called GFP. Totally safe and pretty cool. What if you handle your axolotl too much? Their skin is delicate and protective slime coat can be damaged. Always handle carefully and only when necessary. What if they escape the tank? Believe it or not, axolotls can jump. And if they land on the floor, they'll survive for a short while if kept moist, but it's dangerous. Always keep a secure lid on your tank. So, there you go. A whole list of the most common, funniest, and scariest what-if questions about axolotls. Honestly, I hope this one was helpful. If you found it helpful, check out my other videos for more axolotl facts, tips, and complete care guides. And let me know in the comments what's your best what-if question about axolotls. Maybe I'll answer it in the next episode. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button, subscribe for more axolotl videos, and don't forget to check out my 11 things I wish I knew before getting an axolotl video. It's a must-watch for beginners. Until next time, keep your tank cool, your worms wiggly, and your axolotls happy. See ya!